That's
and this night we
were
but tonight because you know, bottom line travel this week, and so we're absolutely
you can still listen to it at your normal time.
April, you can still listen to this on Sunday.
Listens to it on Sunday.
Hey, listeners, it'll come up in your feed, but if you don't wait until Sunday, that's your so just wait until Sunday. Wanted to make sure we got it out a little to travel that. So obviously we don't have any new music to talk about because it's not Friday yet. But what we did want to do, since we're kind of in the middle of the week, is we did want to give y'all a heads up about what we got coming up, because the next 3 weeks, if not 4 weeks, because fourth week we could have your pops in here.
Yeah.
Listen, we got a month of heat.
It's gonna be an exciting couple weeks here.
Full on heat coming at you. So next week, friend of the show, sister of me, whatever that means.
Yes.
Heather Barkley is going to be joining us next week.
Sister of the show, basically.
She's going to be joining us next week. Also, next week, we are going to return to a bonus episode after the main show next week. We're not going to do a bonus this week because our week was cut short, and JB and we had to work like madmen just to get all of our listens in so that way we could get the show done on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But next week, because Heather's joining us, and Heather, we read her email last week about Dreamboat Annie, which April Leonard also mentioned. Dreamboat Annie is a snub.
Yeah.
And so next week, we're going to go ahead and hit up a bonus show. And we haven't talked about this, but maybe we test some of our little electronic stuff with April. Maybe we bring April in for the bonus too.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to suggest something like that.
Yeah, it could be a fun little test run for some stuff that we want to do the following week.
Yes.
So next week is going to be Heather Barkley with the bonus episode where we talk about Dreamboat Annie by the band Heart as a bonus. And hopefully we can line up April Leonard for that too. That would be really cool if we could get Heather and April, because they both mentioned it as a snub.
She's hearing about it now for the first time. So prepare, April.
Get yourself ready, both of you. But then the week after that, we are going to have hopefully a couple of guests.
Yes.
On that show as well.
Another friend of the show, Mr. Riley Rath, will be joining the episode for that evening because of a couple records that happened to come up that week that he's pretty passionate about. So he asked very specifically to be a guest on that episode, and we're very happy to oblige him. Mm-hmm. And potentially we'll have another guest for that episode. That's not been confirmed yet, so we're not going to say anything. But and then, it's Justin again.
Although hopefully Justin will come back again.
Yes,
not to spoil. And Justin, if you're listening to this, it's In Rainbows, which is a huge album for him, and so because we know that it's such a huge album for him, and quite frankly, we love having Justin on.
Yeah.
Justin's wonderful.
He's going to be a frequent guest. We can already tell.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And if he didn't live in Brooklyn, it'd probably be I don't even know.
Might even be a regular guy.
Yeah. I almost feel like this would be a 3-man podcast if Justin didn't live in Brooklyn. But then the week after that, it is going to be, up to this point in time, like, we have to call it the mother of all podcasts.
It's the biggest one yet.
The Quadcast.
Yes. Affectionately dubbed. the Quadcast.
Because that week, 2 guests. So Friday, April 16th, we are planning on once again having Lee Stamper is going to join the podcast again.
That's onlylee.com.
Onlylee.com. Make sure that you go out and check him out.
Yeah.
If you're into that type of thing. Only this time, Lee Stamper is going to be in studio, which will be super exciting.
Hot damn.
And in addition to Lee Stamper in studio, the fourth member of the Quadcast for that week is going to be the one and only Sean Smith, also friend of the show, also listener of the show. And I'm super excited about that because I have a really large, network of friends. I mean, you have a large network of friends too, but for some reason, the 2 people in my life that are probably like the biggest kind of eclectic musical people that I know, JB being one of them, Sean being the other one, these guys have never met. And so I'm super excited to bring JB and Sean into a conversation about music and and see what happens.
And Sean can certainly dwarf my musical knowledge, I'm sure. So
no, absolutely not. Don't sell yourself short, good man.
I would not be surprised, but I'm very excited for the meeting either way. So it's going to be a super fun night.
It
Look
will.
forward to that one.
Mm-hmm.
The Quadcast.
The Quadcast.
We need to put together like a trailer for that, I think.
Dude,
we
a special. Ooh.
Special bonus trailer.
Don't tease me like that.
Yeah.
So lots of exciting stuff coming up. And of course, we're going to continue to work our way through. If you're just listening to this, which I can't imagine that you are, we're working our way through the top 500 albums of all time by Rolling Stone. Last week, we capped off the first 100
with a champagne toast.
We knifed champagne bottles last week.
Yeah. And now I'm looking forward to doing it the next time.
So, right? Yeah. Because it'll be hopefully
it's a new transition.
Hopefully better champagne.
Yeah, a little bit better at least.
Fucking better, marginally better. But also just fucking cutting the head off the top of a champagne bottle.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do that with any bottle. I don't even care.
Yeah. Thank you to Justin Jandis, the production manager of our show. He's not around tonight, so if the show sucks, it's just because Justin wasn't here.
Yeah.
But he was nice enough to get us a champagne saber.
Yes.
So that way, when we get through the next 100, we can continue to behead bottles of champagne that we enjoy.
Yes. Really kind of elevated the experience. So thank you, Justin. We love you for that.
It really did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
and then in terms of the guests, so the week after the Quadcast,
thank you.
My dad, Mr. Ben Williams, is going to be in town here in Des Moines, Iowa, and he will be joining us, I believe, that week.
Boom.
So that's going to be exciting. He's just as much of a music nerd as we are, so that's going to be a fun conversation.
I'm super excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's just 4 weeks of just banger guests.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about it. I mean, it's
after that, it's all downhill. So enjoy this.
Yeah. After that, you're stuck with just our two dumbasses again. Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully not. Like, as we mentioned many episodes ago, we're going to bring this in and as it makes sense, because I've now gotten my lovely wife to commit at some point in time to come onto the show.
Yep.
Which that'll be a lot of fun because she's done multiple podcasts before.
That's awesome. So she's experienced
around music. Yeah. But she's experienced in the podcasting world. So it'll be fun to see that interaction. And then of course, at some point in time, we're also going to bring on Katie Jo.
Yep. That's my significant other. Mm-hmm. Katie Jo will be joining us. So maybe we get them both on the same episode.
That's an idea that we've bantered about as well. Like that might take a little while because we got to find that intersection where everybody wants to talk about a similar album. But
yeah,
there's definitely some capability for that.
That could be towards the end of the big list thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Towards the end of the big list.
So, something to look forward to.
Super exciting things down the road. But
yes. But speaking of exciting things, this week was pretty exciting, to tell you the truth, in terms of the listening.
Hit and miss, right?
I think I liked most of them a lot. So we'll see. Maybe we'll. Yeah.
I can't wait.
Maybe we'll have some disagreements.
Maybe
juicy.
We will.
Yeah.
Juicy arguments. Okay. Should we jump?
Yeah, let's jump in. 400.
Right. Number 400, released in 1981. The Go-Go's album entitled Beauty and the Beat. Rolling Stone says the most popular girl group of new wave surfed to the top of the charts with this hooky debut. Everyone knows We Got the Beat and Our Lips Are Sealed, exuberant songs that livened up the top 40, but the entire album welds punkish spirit to the party-minded pop. It's one of those albums where every song feels like it could have been a single. From This Town, a sweet, tough celebration of their LA scene, to the haunting Lust to Love, to the album ending 1-2 punch of skid marks on my heart and Can't Stop the World. I fucking loved this record.
Me too, dude. And I'm kind of kicking myself in the ass because I never gave the Go-Go's a second fucking thought my entire life. Did you?
I did, only because I'm going to take a stab at the year here, maybe 1986 or 1987, Belinda Carlisle left the Go-Go's and released a solo album.
And she's the lead singer, right?
She is the lead singer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really, I would argue that Belinda Carlisle and Jane Wiedlin were probably the most prolific musicians, if you will, in the Go-Go's.
Yeah.
And Belinda Carlisle, when the Go-Go's broke up, Belinda Carlisle had a solo career where she had her hit single off of that album, and I want to say the name of the album was Out of the Blue, but there was a song that she released called Heaven on Earth, and I absolutely adored that
Wait,
song.
how's that go? Like,
ooh, baby, do you know that's worth?
that's her.
This is heaven on earth. Yes,
I know that song.
I know, and it's such a wonderful song. I owned that tape.
That's
Like,
a good song.
I know it's a fucking great song, and so like little. I don't know, whatever that was, like 8-year-old, 9-year-old Mike had the biggest crush on Belinda Carlisle.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And so I never slept on the Go-Go's, but I always looked at the Go-Go's and said, oh, well, that's just Belinda Carlisle and some other shit.
On her band that she did before she got good or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew one of these songs. I mean, I didn't even know Our Lips Are Sealed.
Really?
But that was one of my favorites. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously it's like one of the singles,
I know,
so it's going to be
huge
good.
hit.
But
Yeah,
I
huge
mean, I knew we got the beat, but I had never really like if you had asked me last week or 2 weeks ago, who that was, I wouldn't have known.
You wouldn't have known We Got the Beat was the Go-Go's?
No, absolutely not. I would have
Wow.
said I have no fucking idea.
Now
some
listen,
one-hit wonder is probably what I would have said.
in all fairness, I only would have known that because I knew that Belinda Carlisle was a member of the Go-Go's before, and I knew like her voice is instantly recognizable. Although, did you take note that Our Lips Are Sealed, which is the lead track on this disc?
Yeah.
Belinda Carlisle does not sing lead vocals on that track.
That totally makes sense because it was definitely a different tonality.
Now I'm glad that you
I didn't
have
look that up, but yeah.
I'm glad that you have that appreciation, because for me, when I first listened to it,
You're like, what?
well, no, I didn't, because I didn't think that Jane Wiedlin's voice was all that different from Belinda Carlisle's. I mean, if I really listen to it critically, it's like, yeah, okay. I noticed there's a little bit of difference, but it wasn't.
Well, especially
such a
because
stark
they're
difference.
almost always singing together.
Yes.
Not always, but I would say like 75% of the time.
Yes.
They're singing harmonies. So it's almost like their voices just kind of blend together, but like
they
work in a good way.
Yeah, it works so well together. Like it's very pleasing.
It almost sounds like one voice. I mean, I rarely think that about harmony vocals, but like it's just like there's a sound to the vocals throughout that's just like a thread through this whole record, and it's really, really good.
Yep.
There's some like Belinda's voice is just really special in my opinion.
I agree.
I don't know how to describe it. Her voice is like almost breaking up. It's almost like edging on like hilarity in the way that she's
or hysterics, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the word I was looking for. But something about it. It's really great.
Listen, completely agree with you. And the other thing that really stood out to me about this record is in my mind, there's only a couple of songs that I didn't put a star next to. Lust to Love is one that didn't necessarily stand out to me, but that's just because that one was super obvious new wave. You know what I mean? Because the Go-Go's get lumped into like that whole
the new wave.
Yeah, the new wave is what they get lumped into.
Which I think they are, but it's also there's a lot of punk.
A lot of punk.
And lot of go ahead.
But beautiful, wonderful, fun pop punk.
Melodic punk. And that's what I was about to say was it almost feels like a serious like early form of pop punk, Like there's a lot of this that sounded like Green Day.
Yes, that's I was hoping that you would say Green Day, because that's what Green Day really capitalized on, right? Green Day is punk music, but it's poppy.
It's super accessible. Like, overtly poppy and like earwormy.
That's
right. What Green Day is, and that's what this is too. Like, I wrote that down on multiple songs, namely "How Much More." Wrote that down there, which is the second song.
Yes.
And I wrote that on the final song too. Can't Stop the World. And even Skid Marks on My Heart kind of sounded a lot like a couple Green Day songs.
I loved the lyrics on that. And especially for this is not meant to be sexist. It's going to sound sexist, but to have an all-girl band like put together the lyrical content of Skid Marks on My Heart, it's really clever. Like it's super smart, and really, really well done.
There's a lot of witty lyrics. I love that song, Skid Marks on My Heart. That was one of my favorites. I give that one like 4 stars. How do you do your system? We should clarify this because Do you give everything a star? And
No.
like, okay, because neither do I. I started thinking like maybe Mike gives everything a star and
No.
1 star means bad.
No.
For me, I don't mark it if I didn't like it.
If it sucks, I don't mark it either.
Yeah. Okay. But just making sure.
If
Yeah.
I put a star next to it, that stands out to me.
Okay, good.
Right.
Yeah.
If I put 2 stars, it stands out a little bit more. If I put 3 stars, that's a really good song. There's very few songs like and it's funny because I was brag repping to JB that I finally finished my first little notebook.
Yes.
So I had to go out and buy volume 2 to finish my notes for this week. But if you go back through like this first completed notebook, there's definitely only a handful of songs that I gave like that I put 4 stars next to, and there's maybe 5 songs that I put 5 stars next to.
5 songs throughout the entire the entire book.
Yeah, there's just not that many.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's got to be a song where it's like, fuck.
I don't do that super often either, but there were, I got to just looking ahead real quick here. There were a couple today on today's listening that I put 5 stars on. So
yeah, and I mean, I like it just in flipping back through my book. Yeah, there might be more than 5, but there's not that many. Like I try to be judicious with it, but at the same time, listen, if a song stands out, yeah, that gets a star.
Okay,
yeah, it's a good song.
Because that's what I thought. That's what I've been doing at least.
Yeah,
and I was thinking about it to me, and it occurred to me today. That's not how star systems usually work. I was like, wait, maybe Mike's doing 1 star means bad, which is how typical star systems work. Well, so I'm glad we were on the same page.
Yeah,
uniquely,
Yeah,
so,
we're okay. Yeah. We're okay. I really liked Automatic. I love We Got the Beat. We Got the Beat is a fucking
can't go wrong there.
Classic. So is Our Lips Are Sealed. Our Lips Are Sealed are fucking just classic tunes there.
So some of the ones, Automatic was fantastic. That was like a little bit slower and it had a lot of like chromatic chords in it, which is kind of lending to the new wavy thing,
Yeah.
But the ones that I think my favorite track was maybe You Can't Walk in Your Sleep If You Can't Sleep. Remember that one?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
I just fell in love with that one. They have a really interesting way of combining like major and minor keys. Like,
I was wondering if you were going to say that.
And not chords, because like, every key has major and minor chords in it, but they are changing keys quite a bit. And in that one, they changed keys within the chorus. Like the first half of the chorus is in a major key and the second half goes to a minor key. And it's just really interesting songwriting. But it's not even overly complex by any means. It's just an interesting way that they put together a limited number of chords in a really creative way.
I'll tell you the thing that really stood out to me is every single member of the band has songwriting credits across this entire album. And
That's awesome.
I loved that, because how often do you get I'm trying to remember here. Yeah. How often do you get a 5-piece band where everybody has songwriting credits mixed in here and there, but it sounds this cohesive? Because it really is a beautifully cohesive album.
There's a unified vision for sure.
And with that many contributors, it's not
common.
Yeah, I don't think it's all that common. I mean, typically when you have this type of cohesion through an album, it's usually a primary and a secondary songwriter, like,
because you have to have a vision that is carried out. And other people are not necessarily just, I don't want to like just relegate them to being accessories, but it's a vision that's one, it's hard to have a unified vision with more than 2 people.
And that's the thing, right? It's about creation, not about execution. And so to get that many people that are all creatively in tune to the same vision, to use your words, I don't think it's very common. I just don't. Yeah.
I wonder how that actually played out. Like
I do too. Because there's a part of me that, the way that it spread out, I wonder if everybody came to the table with different ideas and different songs, and collectively as a group, they said, okay, from you, we like this one. From you, we like this one. From you, we like this.
And then they're all of ours.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is how we're gonna compose the album. But it's really, I love it. Yeah. Really, really loved it.
I'm a big fan. Absolutely.
I added it to digital. Did you?
Yes. I added 4 of 5 albums this week to digital.
I definitely added it to digital. I hope that I can find this. This is a record like I could feel like I could find it Triple Z or in the By Felicia bin. And if I fucking find it, I'm doing it.
You think you'll find this in By Felicia?
Maybe.
Dude.
I mean, not now that I've said it. Now that I've said it, fucking Luke is definitely not going to put this in By Felicia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now it's going to be in.
I know. He's going to fucking mark it up.
Yeah.
It's going to be like that dickhead Mike wants to buy it.
He's going to buy this. This is a sure thing, guys. Put it up to $40.
Right. But yeah, I totally added it to digital. I was already down, like I said, because Belinda Carlisle, that was weird boyhood crush for me.
Well, maybe
not even that weird. She's hot, dude.
Maybe I'll have to check her solo shit out now, because I know that song that you mentioned before.
Yeah. No, it's really good.
That's a great song.
I believe the title of that album is Out of the Blue. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that that's the title of that album. And she's super talented, but also funny little quirk. So Jane Wiedlin, who was one of the more primary songwriters, like she gets songwriting credits on a lot of this, right? Either with another member of the band or just by herself.
She's the other main singer.
Yeah, the other primary vocalist and guitar player of the group. Are you familiar with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
Hell yeah, I am.
Are you familiar with Joan of Arc from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
You mean just in general Joan of Arc, or her character in
in Bill and Ted's Excellent
Adventure? Was that
Adventure?
her? I didn't realize that.
That's Jane Wiedlin.
Hell yeah.
I didn't realize that either until I started Googling images of all these people, including the Go-Go's, which, by the way, at one point, like, I don't know how many drugs these girls were on, but it was the early 1980s. They were in LA.
I want to party with the Go-Go's.
I know, because they had to have, they fucking partied.
So she's in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, huh?
She is Joan of Arc in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I thought so too, especially just given the nature of Bill and Ted's and the fact that she's a fucking rock star.
Yeah.
And she's a rock star playing Joan of Arc.
And that what year did that movie come out? Probably like 85 or something. So yeah, she was definitely a rock star already.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's super cool.
1989 technically is when Bill and Ted's came out.
Side note, did you see the new Bill and Ted's? Because I have not watched it yet.
I have not seen the new Bill and Ted's yet.
Yeah.
I did not go to production manager Justin's house when he did the outdoor viewing.
He did do that.
I wish I would have, but shit happens. Life happens.
We'll catch you later.
Yes. Okay, so I'm buying the vinyl whenever I find it. I already added it to digital. I love it on the list. What do you think about placement? Are you good with the placement?
Just given the snubs, I wouldn't hate to see it drop down a little bit, but I don't want it to go up.
Where do you want to drop it to?
I'd say around 450. There's so much that's before or that's earlier on this list that I feel like could be above this, in my opinion. And I don't want to say specifics, but I mean there's a bunch that we've listened to that I would argue as being higher than this.
Give me two.
Give you two? Okay.
Because
69 love songs. No, I'm just kidding.
Fuck you.
That was a joke.
Because I kind of like the placement. I'm okay with the placement.
Yeah. I mean, I think Let's Get It On, Marvin Gaye should probably be higher, to tell you the truth. That's one.
Yeah, I love that record.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I kind of if you told me, hey, would you swap this for LCD Sound System? I'd probably take a stab at that. But I also know that I'm an LCD System fanboy, so I'm not gonna live and die by that. That's just a personal preference thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to find I've seen a couple that I'm like, yeah, I could say that, but I'm trying to find an impactful one for that.
Would you take yes?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes. Yeah.
That's where I thought that you were going to go instantly, was Close to the Edge, And
there's several that I'm seeing that I would definitely, I would argue.
Listen, that's fair. That's fair.
But
you're keeping it on the list, right?
I'm not berating the album at all.
No.
Yeah.
No, because it's fun. It's really fun. And to me, this captures a moment in time that is yeah. It was a good moment in time.
Yeah, I'm definitely keeping it on the list for sure.
All right.
So, that's the thing is, like, if you're on the list, I feel pretty good about it. If I'm keeping it on the list personally, I like it a lot. It's like this is the top 500 albums of all time. So,
and there's, I don't know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of albums, right? And we're trying to whittle it down to the best 500.
So even number 500 is
it's fucking solid, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really good record. So yeah. All right, I feel you.
Okay,
should we move on?
Let's move on.
Let's do it.
Coming in at 399, into the 300s, we have Brian Wilson. Smile.
Oh,
sorry, had to do it.
Smile because I never have to listen to it ever again. Fucking shit. Go.
Released in 2004. This album lived in myth for decades. Brian Wilson's unfinished response to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Scoffing at that shit. Good luck trying to. Took nearly 40 years to finally come to fruition. Longtime Wilson collaborator Van Dyke Parks helped him realize his vision with lush string arrangements, sublime melodies, and vocal harmonies, all impeccably constructed. Close your eyes and you can imagine how it might have changed the world in 1968. But with Wilson's influence still all over scads of indie bands in 2004, it sounds and feels majestically modern.
Fuck you.
Fuck ... you. And we're gonna later after we talk about it, we're gonna have to consult Rex Todd because
that's and I'm
gonna get it pulled up. You already have it pulled up. Okay, well let's revisit that a little later. But
okay,
because I read his email earlier.
Yep.
But okay, so definitely neither Mike or I like this album at all. In fact, we talked about it early in the week.
Yeah, we did.
The very first track, I gotta say, was kind of cool. So the very first track was called Our Prayer, and it was well done. It's a cappella, and there's several layers of voices. It's Brian Wilson, so the vocal harmonies are going to be good. He's going to write decent vocal harmony lines. It's not like it's going to be bad, but from the second track on, I was just annoyed immediately. Like he just comes across as a jackass to me the whole time. I gotta say it. Can't really put it any better way than that.
Here's the part that annoys me. This album was recorded in 2004. And what did they do? They were like, well, we know what the Beach Boys sounded like in 1967, 68.
Yeah.
So let's just find everybody today that sounds exactly like the members of the Beach Boys, and let's re-record a Beach Boys album today.
That's really all it is, because a lot of these songs were originally written. Did you kind of read about that at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this was supposed to be the follow-up to Pet Sounds.
Correct. And it, according to Rolling Stone, an answer to Sgt. Pepper's.
Which that's a weird claim to try to make.
I mean, listen, I get it, because if you listen to the sound, I mean, this album does sound like it should have been recorded at the same time about Sgt. Pepper's, especially when you start to get into, excuse me, when you get into Mrs. O'Leary's Cow.
Yeah.
Which is basically just a fucking tripped out, like crazy bucket o sounds. That's really all that shit is.
Oh yeah, that's like, okay, so that was the one with the sirens, right?
Yeah. It was, listen, okay. When I read that, what I thought to myself was, if this was the response to Sgt. Pepper's, then the response to this was the White Album. Because
who won?
Fuck you, who won? The Beatles fucking won, right? Like Sgt. Pepper's was genius, and the White Album was even better. So I listened to Mrs. O'Leary's Cow, which was just a collection of fucking crazy sounds and shit.
There was really no like cohesive melody there. It was just chaos.
No melody. Yeah, it was just chaos.
You finish.
No, listen, this is what it was, right? If the Beach Boys would have released this, then the answer to this would have been Revolution Number 9.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Revolution Number 9 as disconcerting as it is, especially if you've consumed any type of psychedelic elements, which it becomes a very fucking disconcerting song, is the answer to Miss O'Leary's Cow, and the answer is better than this.
Certainly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's weird because I almost feel like if this really was the Beach Boys or Brian Wilson responding to Sgt. Pepper's and trying to like say, man, that's really good. Here's what I got. Then the Beatles turned around and said, that's all you got?
Yeah.
Because we got this. and it's
maybe they wouldn't
better.
even, maybe it would have been like a situation where it altered the course of history and the Beatles didn't even release the White Album because they were like, oh, we don't want to kick him while he's down. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or they somehow changed.
I do. Another thing. Okay. So I only starred a couple of songs. Wonderful. I put a star next to. I thought it was really lovely. I loved the trumpet in that song and the strings and the bass.
Is that towards the end?
No, probably one.
Oh, I found it.
Yeah, like 6 or 7.
So with that, for me, I thought I wrote that was a good melody, but I just couldn't get. So, one thing I realized listening to this is that I really just don't like Brian Wilson's voice, and maybe that's just. I'm not saying that it's it's objectively bad by any means. I just don't like it personally. And that's probably,
I don't either.
You know, like the tonality to his voice just kind of drives me crazy.
Let me ask you this though. And Lee Stamper of onlylee.com, he's going to appreciate this. How much of this do you think was actually Brian Wilson's voice?
What do you mean?
What I mean is this. There's a bunch of like every single one of these tracks has a voice that sounds like Mike Love.
Yeah.
Mike Love didn't record any of this shit.
Well, I think most of the lead vocals are Brian, right? Maybe I didn't read into it enough.
No. It's not that you didn't read into it enough. Like, because quite frankly, I was so pissed off at having to listen to this. I didn't read into it a whole lot either.
Yeah.
But almost every single one of these tracks has a Mike Love equivalent.
Sure.
Okay. Because Mike Love was a huge member of the Beach Boys, and they're trying to recreate what the Beach Boys were trying to do in 1968 when Brian Wilson cracked up.
Right.
Right. Because that's why for the record, that's why this album didn't make it. Okay. Because Brian Wilson basically just cracked up in 1968.
Yeah. And it was kind of ill-fated from the beginning, right? They were already like having issues.
The band as a whole was already kind of strained, but I mean, seriously, Brian Wilson had serious mental issues that he was dealing with by this time.
He kind of dealt with that his whole life, like serious depressive tendencies and things like that.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I think you could argue that it probably really set in after Pet Sounds by the time that they tried to record this. Like, he just wasn't, it was bad.
Yeah.
Right. It was bad. By 2004, though, and granted, when I saw Brian Wilson perform live, it was in 2013, I think, is when I saw the Beach Boys with Brian Wilson.
Nice.
And I mentioned Lee Stamper from onlylee.com because we saw them perform at Bonnaroo. Mm-hmm. And at Bonnaroo, they hung a bass guitar over Brian Wilson.
You didn't play it?
Well, Lee Stamper was convinced that Brian Wilson was playing the bass guitar.
And you were the opposite.
But what I told Lee Stamper was, why are his hands not moving? And why do they have another bass player on the stage?
Weird.
That's very fucking clearly playing the bass guitar. What that tells me is that Brian Wilson is not fucking playing the bass guitar.
Yeah.
They have a guitar hanging on him.
For looks.
But he's not fucking playing the bass line that you're hearing. You know? And so that makes me wonder. Now, granted, that was in 2013. This is almost 10 years earlier.
And this is in the studio where you can fuck up a lot more and get away with it. I don't know. I bet most of the Brian Wilson sounding vocals are Brian Wilson.
That's fair.
I could be wrong. Could be wrong about that.
But there's a shitload of these vocals that are not Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
Right? They're the Mike Love. Sure. They're the Mike Love sound alike.
Yeah.
And for the record, listen, the guy sounds a lot like Mike Love.
Yeah. No, and like I said before, none of the vocals are bad. I'm not trying to like, this is not poorly made. You know what I mean?
None of this record, instrumentally, vocally, none of this record is bad.
None of it. Like, it's all well done. Like, the writing is top notch. The orchestration is good. But by the writing is top notch, I mean, like, it all is cohesive and it flows. I just personally don't like it that much, you know, but there's nothing objectively bad about it is what I'm trying to say, except for maybe just the fact that it's just too convoluted to me. I think you can make that argument. Like the songs are just, they don't really, many of the songs don't have any kind of real sense of like centered, like intention to them. To me, they're just kind of all over the fucking place. Like, for example, is even from Heroes and Villains, it's all over the place.
It's a fucking mess.
It like stops and starts again with a new timing and a new key. And it's like, why is that the same song? Like, why is it? It's not, you know, to me. Yeah, at least.
No, so. Listen, I'm with you. And in my mind, there's a reason why in 1968, this album wasn't finished. So if you weren't able to get the job done in 1968, I don't want to hear what you think you wanted to make 40 years later.
Yeah.
And that's what this is.
And it's like,
and I'm taking a hard pass on it.
You're totally right. Like, you should have probably made some sort of growth. Like, and not saying that they haven't, but it just seems weird to revisit an album that you made 40 years ago and be like, that's what I need to do. You know, after all of this, all of the musical growth that personal growth that I've done over the last 40 years, I'm going to just finish that one. You know?
Or how about this? When you go into art museums, how many Renoirs do you see where it's like, Renoir started this in 1620 and then he finished it in 1680?
Yeah.
How about fucking zero?
That's because that's the
and
case.
Art is art.
Mm-hmm. It's all the same.
I don't give a fuck if you're using oil paints, if you're using charcoal, if you're using guitar, or if you're using your voice. Art is meant to be, in my opinion, art is meant to be created, made record, right? Or you make a recording of the event, and that's the art. And I hate the idea of trying to go back and trying to recreate what you think you wanted 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Fuck the idea and fuck this record.
That's a valid point. A couple other things I wanted to mention, just so I can kind of back up my opinions on this. So, like, listening to Surf's Up, I actually put a star next to that because I kind of liked what he was doing there a little bit. But then my comment that I made was that it's hard to really enjoy anything on this album because he's not letting any of his musical ideas breathe at all. Like, he does something and then he doesn't expand on it, or he doesn't let it really catch your ear. He just does something else, you know, right next. And it's just, and that was kind of the same problem I had with like Heroes and Villains. It's just too much. And he's not letting the ideas really develop and really become a motif that you can latch onto, you know, in your ears. You know, he's not letting them breathe. That's what I wrote. So,
the best thing that I can come up with for you, based on my notes, is I summed it up with, the song makes no sense.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, it just didn't make any sense to my ears. You know, there was stuff that I enjoyed about it. Like, I did enjoy, there's backup vocals that were in there with the word bygone.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that, but the song just it was not fucking cohesive.
And a lot of the lyrics were just kind of dumb to me, like vegetables. Like,
oh fuck!
Come on, man!
Song.
Like, whoa,
get the fuck out of here!
Yeah,
dude.
Seriously.
I can't. I don't even want to. Yeah.
I literally wrote, "This is terrible. Why does anyone enjoy this?" Like, we get it.
You want to know what I wrote?
Vegetables sounds like vegetables.
You want to know what I wrote? I wrote, "Fuck you." LOL. Just fuck off.
Yeah.
Dumb and goofy. Not for me. Too silly. And listen, I listen to Fish.
You love Fish.
I fucking love Fish.
You like Frank Zappa, so you're not against humor in music.
I'm not against silliness.
Yeah.
But this isn't like, I like intelligent silliness.
Did you notice what they did on that track? Did you write anything down?
I literally just told you everything
That's
I
all you
wrote
wrote?
down. Dude.
What they did do on that track was he reprised the acapella song from Wild Honey. The song that was like, brush 'em like crazy, eat a lot, drink a lot, never be lazy. Remember that?
I'm glad that he was super obsessed with fucking teeth brushing and good health.
I mean, it was literally the same song. Like halfway through Vegetables, it turned into that. Yeah, regarding Miss O'Leary's cow, I just wrote like it was weirdly chaotic with sirens and distorted guitar. It didn't make any sense to me. I wrote, I don't get it. Probably because there's nothing to get. Not trying to be too much of a downer, but yeah. I mean,
I am trying to be a downer. This album blows. It has I just don't even understand.
Yeah. And just to go back to the silliness of it, because I've kind of had a thought about this. There's like this certain kind of whimsical theatricality that pops up a lot in Paul McCartney's music to me. And when Paul McCartney does that kind of like deliberately whimsical silliness, I don't love it, to tell you the truth. Like there were a couple songs on Ram that we talked about that reminded me of that.
Yeah.
But he can get away with it for me. But that's what this whole album is that like kind of whimsical, silly theatricality. But with, Paul McCartney's voice can pretty much pull anything off, and I'm gonna be okay with it.
Yeah,
but Brian Wilson is not that way for me. So.
No, he's not that way for me either. And I just no.
And another thought I had here is just that, and this is just short and sweet, but more is not always more. Sometimes less is more. I know that's a common adage, but there's too much being stacked into this record.
And I don't even give a shit about that. To me, it's the entire premise of the record.
Just going back to something that you did 40 years ago.
Yeah, the entire fucking premise of, hey, I think you had something really good 40 years ago, so why don't we try to recreate what you thought you wanted to do back then?
Yeah.
No.
And for me, like that matters some too, but just even more for me, the reason I don't like it is just that there's way too much going on. I can't digest any of the ideas that he comes up with because he changes it too fast or he adds too many fucking layers to it. Adds 13 voices going on.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
My opinion.
I'm out.
I'm taking it off the list.
Yeah, I didn't add it, and this has no fucking business being on my list.
I did not add it either.
Anywhere near my list.
And I'll tell you what, I am looking forward to Pet Sounds. I like that record a lot. So I just want to make it clear that I'm not anti-Beach Boys.
Yeah, and I'm not. Fuck, we already talked about this, right? We talked about this with Wild Honey.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Beach Boys fan.
Yeah.
I think that the Beach Boys are the perfect band to have a greatest hits. We've seen greatest hits from other artists on here. Like we've already seen Al Green.
We've had 2 Beach Boys records so far.
In fucking fact, take this piece of shit out, replace it with Endless Summer by the Beach Boys.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm all in because I'll love the record and I would love the placement of it.
Yep.
I think this is a perfect spot for Endless Summer. Not this though.
Because that's not even on here, right?
No, it's not on here.
Yeah, that seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah. And love Brian Wilson, super genius guy, right? I'm not shitting on Brian Wilson.
I'm not shitting on him at all as a musician either. But again, it's just I don't like his voice that much.
No,
I don't feel bad saying that.
No, I think from a compositional standpoint, I think he's super brilliant, really great musical mind.
Yeah,
but no, fuck this record. Fuck it. Can't do it.
Mm-hmm. Let's move on.
All right. 398 from 1979.
Oh, you know what? Sorry to interrupt you, but we were going to read Rex's thoughts on that.
Go for it.
Yep.
Go.
Oh, did you pull? I thought you had it.
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah. Okay, so let's jump back to the Go-Go's because Rex has sent us commentary on all this. Rex thought from Beauty and the Beat, he said that it was catchy bubblegum beats. This album is full of tracks that could all be hits or singles.
Hell yeah.
Completely agree.
Yep.
It's fun, catchy, starting out as a mix of punky new wave, devolving into new wave. Great vocal harmonies. This album is a good surprise entry on this list.
Yeah, it felt about exactly the same way as him there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Rex, you're spot on, bud. Now, let's talk Brian Wilson. Impressive album, says Rex. Reminiscent vocal harmonies and drums of the old Beach Boys sound reminds me a lot of Endless Summer for some reason. Yeah, fucking Rex, come on. For some what reason? Old Master Painter really stands out on this album. I could listen to this album all day long. It just doesn't get old. Fuck.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that he enjoyed it and that he felt like it was the old Beach Boys.
Well, yeah, and the other point to that is like he's not alone in that thought. That's the thing, is a lot of people fucking love this. Just reading through all the everything I was reading about this album, it's well reviewed.
All music, Metacritic, like they all really, really give this album high marks. And for me, it just fucking missed. I mean, it just missed bad for me.
Yeah, we're on the same page there.
All right.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you. You go on. I just remember we were gonna.
Yeah. Well, and all too often, like we wait until the end.
Yeah.
We get Rex up on the end. So Rex, listen, we love you. Please continue to send us all your stuff. Home gamer to the fucking max, dude. Like he's gaming along with us all the way. And we'll have him on. Rex. We'll have him on the show again. But moving on, number 398 from 1979, the self-titled album from the Raincoats, hence the Raincoats. Rolling Stone says the Raincoats came up with one of the most experimental and thrilling sounds to emerge from the London punk explosion. 4 women making their own gloriously unkempt racket. As guitarist Anna De Silva explained, we rehearsed for hours, but we always fell apart. De Silva and Gina Birch chant over Palmala's manic drums and Vicky Aspinall's buzzsaw violin. For gems like In Love and their gender-twisted cover of the Kinks' Lola, their debut album finally got its long overdue U.S. release in 1993 at the insistence of Raincoat superfan Kurt Cobain. What the fuck? So people in the States didn't even hear this until 93? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, I mean, it wasn't released in the U.S., but I'm sure you could obtain it, like if you were in the know.
Yeah, like an import or whatnot. Listen, I hate to do this to you.
Do it.
I got to go to the bathroom. You
go ahead
for 30 seconds.
Totally understandable. So the Raincoats. I was going to talk a little bit about this Kurt Cobain thing at the end here, because I was reading that this is actually one of Kurt Cobain's very favorite records of all time. And what I was going to look here is if I could pull up a little information about that on Wikipedia while we wait for Mike. This is kind of a weird album, and I'm definitely excited to see what Mike thinks about it. My hunch is that he doesn't like it based on a comment that he made earlier. And just spoiler alert, I don't think you can hear me right now, but I fucking love it. So we will see. Yes. Okay. So anyways, Kurt Cobain listed the Raincoats as number 20 in his 50 favorite albums of all time. So here is a quote by him. I don't really know anything about Raincoats except that they recorded some music that has affected me so much that whenever I hear it, I'm reminded of a particular time in my life. Mike, this is a quote from Kurt Cobain.
Thank you.
A particular time in my life when I was, shall we say, extremely unhappy, lonely, and bored. If it weren't for the luxury of putting that scratchy copy of the Raincoats' first record, I would have had very few moments of peace. I suppose I could have researched a bit of history about the band, but I feel like it's more important to delineate the way I feel and how they sound. When I listen to the Raincoats, I feel as if I'm a stowaway in an attic, violating it in the dark. Rather than listening to them, I feel like I'm listening in on them. We are together in the same old house, and I have to be completely still or they will hear me spying from above. And if I get caught, everything will be ruined because it's their thing. That's awesome. Because
that's a crazy fucking good quote.
It is. Yep.
Quotation, I should say.
One thought that I was having was just that was listening to this was they just sound like they're having so much fucking fun. So I kind of get what he's saying there. Like they don't need you to listen for them to have fun with what they're doing. That's not what it's about. They're doing this. They're making this music for themselves, you know.
Before I start just raining down how much I love On the Raincoats. I do.
You love it?
I love this.
Oh man,
unbelievably. I loved this so unbelievably
I wasn't sure if you heard me
much.
when you were in the bathroom, but I said that I didn't think you were gonna like it.
Oh man. Okay, so no, I absolutely adore this album, and even with its lo-fi-ness, because it was like so lo-fi, so lo-fi. I completely fell in love with it. In fact, I played Genevieve multiple tracks on this album, and she dug it too. Like
Nice.
she was into it. Yeah, she really dug it. But before I continue to rain down on the Raincoats, I do want to say, for the record, I apologize to everybody. Normally, I have the iron bladder.
Oh yeah, Mike's
like
the guy.
normally the bladder is not my issue, but
yeah,
good God Almighty, we were like halfway through Brian Wilson,
and you're like, shit.
It was bad.
No, usually it's me that's the problem.
I know.
And I usually wait until the end until I'm literally about to have some sort of medical emergency, and then so I'm glad you didn't do that.
It had to have been the Woodford. I'm gonna blame the Woodford on that.
Most likely. Yeah.
But now let's jump back into the Raincoats, because yes, dude,
some comment you made earlier had me thinking. I can't remember what it was specifically, but I got the vibe that you didn't like it.
I've listened to this album probably 6 times.
Hell yeah.
I am fucking, dude. I went all in on this so hard. And you know the track that did it for me? My favorite track on this album was Off Duty Trip.
Off Duty Trip. Oh, that was the one that was like bass guitar was in the forefront on that.
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Very much so. But
that was really a lot of the record, though, was bass guitar was just a prominent feature.
Well, but it wasn't just the bass guitar, it was the fucking violin, dude. Distorted violin. Who fucking does that?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Distorted violin and also plucked violin. Did you notice that? There were several times where it sounded like either they were plucking them with their fingers or they were using a pick. I think it might even have been a fucking pick. But they were.
You think so?
One of the two. I mean, it wasn't with a bow.
No, absolutely not. I was thinking fingernail. Like using fingernail. Yeah, kind of using your fingernail as a pick. Like if she was using your fingernail as a pick is kind of what I was imagining. But
yeah, it could have been. Yeah, you could have achieved the sound probably either way. But Off Duty Trip though.
I loved the bass melody, right? Because it was really the bass was carrying the melody on that.
Yeah.
But then the way that they completely changed tempo and drop into this wacky fucking really good, almost like halftime chorus.
Yeah.
That they went into with the chorus of that song. I loved that. And then lyrically, that song, listen, that's a fucking Me Too song. That's a Me Too song if you've ever heard one. Right?
I actually don't remember the lyrics. Can you refresh me?
Yeah, so it's like I dug into the lyrics a little after reading about them, but it's about rape it's about military. It's basically the story of a guy in the military that comes offshore, rapes a woman, but he has to be protected because of his military career.
Off duty makes sense.
Yeah. It's so brilliant. Like so well done. Simple, but just magical. The other thing that I thought about this album as a whole is that the idea that the genre of alternative music came about in the mid-90s. This record says fuck you. This is the Decemberists, right?
The Decemberists?
That's what this reminded me of.
I'm not familiar enough with the Decemberists.
How about Neutral Milk Hotel?
You think so?
Did you hear any of that? And it's okay if you didn't, but it did for me. And in 1979, man, like to me, this was 2 decades ahead of its time, in my opinion, just in terms of sound and what they were like, what they created unto themselves, but then also how that had to have informed music 2 decades later, when alternative music really became kind of a genre unto its own.
I'm not going to argue that I see that it influenced that, but I maybe don't like hear a lot. This is a little more like avant-garde to me than that, but and less accessible, but in a good way. I mean, it's just it's punk, right? At its core, or post-punk, I guess is because it's like punk, but more avant-garde, which I think technically gets it classified as post-punk if you're really going down that rabbit hole.
I'm with you,
but I can see it.
But I also think
those things.
Yeah, because
I'm not going to disagree. Yeah.
I think that that's what music that we would all call alternative became, though.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. Yeah.
And especially when you think about like kind of the different instrumentation, right? The fact that there's fucking violin, you know?
Yeah.
And a violin is prominent. And just the way that they use that, like
the way that they use all the instruments, dude. Like
Agreed.
So the drummer. Did you pay so much attention to this?
Dude, she's fucking crazy.
She's not playing drums the way that people normally play the drums.
I know.
By any means. I feel like she did not, and I mean this in the best way possible. She did not take a single fucking drum lesson. She just picked up these sticks and she's like, this is how this works, right? And just figured out her own way of doing it. And it totally works for me.
I love it.
Like, it's super unique. It's not like she's almost using it not as like a backbone of the band. It's more of like a frontal instrument or something, you know. It's not.
She's not a rhythm section. And there was another album this week. I'm trying to think about what. No, you know what? It was this album. She's almost using the drum set to play melody. Does that make sense?
That's exactly, yeah. That's what I'm getting at.
And that's what's fucking crazy, dude. Like, drums never carry the melody, right? Drums are always part of the rhythm section.
Yeah. And whether you dig it or not, it is unique. I never heard anything like the way that she plays the drums.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
But just the whole thing, I mean, it's just raw fun. And like I said before, they're just having so much fun. And it really, really does come through. And I really love the way that Kurt Cobain kind of put it, like that he's like listening in on them, and
like a fly on the wall,
because they don't need you. That's what that's what I take from that. At least is like they're doing their thing, and they're not doing it for any reason other than the fact that they want to do it. And, you know, that's how it comes across to me. Like, they're not proving anything to anybody. They're not trying to write a hit.
Mm-mm.
They're just they're making exactly what they want to make.
They're making what they want to make.
Yeah,
and I love it. I mean,
I loved it too. Yeah.
Quite frankly, there were only 4 songs. There were only 4 songs on this record that I didn't put a star next to.
There were 2 songs that stuck out the most to me.
What do you got?
Let's see how this stacks up. The one that I have the most stars next to was In Love. You remember that one? Towards the end.
Yeah, I didn't put any stars next to it.
Wow. Well, that's okay.
But that was super reminiscent of Velvet Underground to me.
Big time. And I love the Velvet Underground.
I do too.
There were some like lines where the guitar and the bass were playing together, which I loved that. It was mostly just 2 chords, and it had that section at the end where they got super sped up. It's like this crazy chaotic speed up part.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then The Void. I loved The Void.
I loved The Void. Absolutely. I loved the combination of the bass and the violin and the guitar.
Yeah, because that started off with like violin and bass playing together.
Yep.
And the violin was like slightly detuned. That's the thing, is throughout a lot of this record, a lot of the instruments were kind of out of tune. But like it didn't bother me at all. You know, it was like I noticed it, but it didn't bother me, you know.
See, and my ear's not that good. Right. So to me, I'm just like, I got lost in the fun.
If anything, it kind of added to it, you know. It was like that. Yes, there's no way these girls' guitars should not be in tune. That would be fucked
right.
up. You know?
Yeah. What did you think about their cover of the Kinks?
I loved it. Super cool.
It's fucking perfect, right?
Yeah. That they kind of passed the vocals around a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like one person singing.
Nope.
Yeah.
And they did that on a lot of tracks. Like a lot of tracks, they were passing vocals between 2 or 3 of them, because I want to say the violinist, the guitar player, and the bass player all shared vocals at different points in time. And that was the other thing that stood out to me, is like this record is filled with moments where there are 2 people singing, but they're not singing in harmony.
No, not at all. Yeah.
They're singing discordant. They're singing discordant chorales. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because they're singing the same things, but they're intentionally not singing them as a harmony.
Yeah, it's not like they can't tell that either, you know.
They fucking know it.
They fucking know it. Yeah.
They know it, and I love it.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it.
I'm glad we both feel this way because I was worried you weren't gonna. I don't know what it was. There was some comment you made, but the other part of me should have been like, I know Mike's gonna like this because this kind of reminded me of like a female version of the Stooges.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and you fucking love that.
I fucking love the Stooges, and you're right. I genuinely agree with that. But to me, I'm gonna keep saying this. This to me is OG alternative music. I understand where you're coming from by saying this is really post-punk.
Well, what I need to do
I would
is
never call it new wave. I would never call it new wave.
No, not at all.
But to me, this is people doing alternative music before alternative music got that label.
Well, I need to listen back with that in mind, and I will definitely be listening to this again.
I
added it to digital.
I did
within
too.
like the first couple tracks.
I know, and I would kill to find this on vinyl.
Hell yeah,
I would buy it on vinyl. I think it would sound even better.
Yeah, I'd buy it for like $40.
Yeah, I probably would too.
Yeah,
and that's probably what we're gonna have to pay for it.
Most likely. Yeah.
Do you like the placement? What do you think about the placement of it?
This is a hard one because I'm certainly not moving it down. Might argue for moving it up, but I don't know what's ahead of it necessarily. So, I mean, I know the ones that I know are ahead of it, but I mean, I'm not going to move it down. I'm either going to leave it where it is or move it up a little bit.
I feel about this album much the same way that I feel about the Go-Go's. I'm actually really comfortable with where it's at. I love that this list brought this album to me. If you have never listened to the Raincoats and you've ever fashioned yourself as a fan of alternative music, do this, because I think that you'll listen to it. And if you told me that this album was made in 2002, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, that sounds about right.
So you think it's like a precursor to indie music?
I really do. I really do. And if you didn't think that, I'm going to
listen back with that in mind.
Yeah, please do. Because I think that if you go into it with that notion, I think you'll hear it. I genuinely think that you'll hear it because I couldn't get that fucking thought out of my mind.
Interesting. Yeah.
I just couldn't.
Well, I'm not going
to
discount that at all. And it just gives me a reason to go back and listen to the Raincoats again, which is cool with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you haven't done this, do it often. And if you're skeptical at all, start with Lola. It's a cover.
Easy into it. You know that song.
It's a cover of the Kings. You know it. And quite frankly, there was a part of me that when I was listening to this the first time, and I fucking knew that this wasn't their song, but god damn it if they didn't own it.
Dude, there was part of me that was like, wait, is this the original version?
Yes!
I'm not even kidding. Is that what you were saying?
Yes!
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did. I fucking looked it up.
I did too. Yeah.
Dude, I was like, was this their song? Yeah. It's so
And it
beautiful.
was like their off-kilter cover of the Kinks or whatever.
I know. And then I was like, fuck you, off-kilter, you son of a bitch.
That's right. Pretty on-kilter to me.
You know? It was beautiful. Beautiful. And I fucking loved it. Loved it to death. I love it on the list. Want to buy it on vinyl, but I'm comfortable with where it's at.
Yeah,
I'm good with where it's at. If it moved up a little bit, I wouldn't hate it.
I'm either comfortable or I'm moving it up, but I have a hard time making decisions. I feel like I can tell that I want it if I want to move an album down, but up is hard because like I don't know what's coming up. You know,
that's the tricky part.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because
but I guess
JB and I, we've been
why we make the big bucks right here on the podcast. Yeah. What were you saying though? About disciplined about not looking ahead.
Yeah.
We mentioned earlier that we cheated a little bit, but we didn't cheat much. We're talking about like 20 albums at the most.
Yeah, at the most. And the only reason why we were cheating is just because we have guests coming up and we're trying to prepare ourselves for the people that are coming on the show and just making sure that it's going to be a good fit.
Exactly. So. Should we move it on?
We may as well.
Okay. 397. You know, this will be a fun one to talk about because
I think so too.
I think we'll probably have similar feelings on this one. 397 is Billie Eilish. When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? From 2019. Tied for our newest record on our list. Tied with Fine Line.
Yep. Yeah, Harry Styles.
Exactly.
Which, by the way, Harry Styles was 491.
This is 397. So
Big jump.
big difference.
Yep.
Billie Eilish became a teen folk hero with her blockbuster debut, just your average 17-year-old songwriting prodigy with a head full of nightmares. Eilish wrote and recorded these tunes with her brother Phineas at the LA house where they grew up, but her adolescent imagination ran wild. From the gothic angst of Bury a Friend to the whispery trap pop strut of Bad Guy, the voice of a new generation. Duh.
Really?
Got to reference the Bad Guy there, huh?
Duh.
Duh. So I'm going to come out and say, I actually really like this. I feel like the whole being on the list is a whole nother conversation that we'll definitely be kind of digging into here.
I love that.
But
I love that hot take.
But I like the album a lot. I don't want to make it seem like I don't at all.
Give me your top song on the album. How many? Actually, no. How many songs did you put a star next to?
Lots.
Jeez. Single stars, 2 stars, 4 stars?
I only have a couple that have single stars. Most either have no stars or they have 3 stars.
What did you give 3 stars to?
Well, I like Bad Guy. I think that's a fantastic song. Really well written pop song. And I gotta say, the trap breakdown at the end is fucking sweet.
It's dope.
Isn't it? Don't you think so?
It's super dope.
Put some headphones on that and
yeah.
it's just boom.
It's fucking banging.
Boom. Yeah. There's like that little it's like a cool dramatic pause. And it totally takes it out of the timing. Like you think the song's over. It's like almost 3 or 4 seconds of pure silence. And then it drops in with this like falling bass line.
Yep.
And there's like this laugh. Did you pick up on this? Like this little as it drops in. It's almost like jokes on you. We thought the song was over. But so I gave Bad Guy 4 stars.
Okay. I gave it 2.
Is that crazy?
Yeah, no, I don't think you're super crazy. How about You Should See Me in a Crown?
I gave that one 3.
That's a fucking banger,
It's
right?
A dope tune. Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's like a great club tune, basically. Like I could see dancing to that. Like not that I go to dance at clubs, never have in my life actually. But if you were into that, that'd be a good one for that.
So I've been to festivals where Billie Eilish is performing, and that
did you see her?
I saw her from a distance at ACL.
Nice.
But that's a song where it's like just listening to the beat. It's like, yeah, put me in the center of that fucking crowd, and I want to sing, "You should see me in a crown," right? Like that big heavy drop.
The big drop on the chorus.
I'm fucking in.
And it's just like the absence of that beat on the verses really makes that drop just pop.
That's right.
You know,
and it's huge. Go ahead.
Well, just answering your question about which ones I gave 3 or more stars to.
Yeah.
When the Party's Over, I gave that one 4 stars.
Really? Why? What'd you like about that?
It was just a beautiful ballad. I mean, I loved the melody that they came up with.
It's very listenable.
I love the vocal style, and really, to tell you the truth, this is something I was going to talk about. I attribute that much more to her brother than I do to her. Her brother is, for those who don't know, he's Phineas, and he is a fucking genius. And I think the reason that I like the album so much, Billie's great. Don't get me wrong, her voice is solid, and she does some of the writing, but Phineas does a lot of the writing too, and he does all of the production, which is really what it makes this album pop.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the juice here. Now, I think that the way that this works out, and I don't know this because I haven't watched the documentary yet.
There's a documentary?
Yeah, there's a documentary about Billie Eilish, and I'm going to watch it because I do find her a little bit fascinating.
Me too.
I find her very endearing in a lot of ways.
She's like 7 or 18 now, right? Something like that.
She's probably 19 by now, but either way, when she recorded this, yeah, she was really young. Phineas, though, is the one that really intrigues me because he's, and again, like lyrically, I think that I'm fairly certain that the way that this works out is that she writes all the lyrics, and Heather Barkley and I were talking about this in particular, and she said something very interesting, and she goes, Heather said that, if I remember this correctly, that Billie writes a lot of poetry, and that
Phineas
is putting her poetry to music. And I can kind of see that. Yeah. I mean, it's not super traditional poetry, but it's musings or thoughts,
sure,
or ideas, and Phineas is the one that's crafting the musicality behind that.
If that's the case, then that just further reinforces my love of Phineas here.
Yeah.
Because I think the lyrics are good, but Mike and I both aren't that much of lyrics guys. I don't know. Maybe I'm just dumb, but for me, it takes a really great lyric for me to really notice it that much, and I didn't have that a lot on this.
I've got to, for the lyrics to really connect, it's got to connect, right? Like I have to be able to listen to a lyric and think, man, I know exactly what that person is talking about.
Yeah, I felt that feeling before or whatever. Yeah,
that's right. And so the idea that a fucking 43, almost 44-year-old guy is going to be able to connect with a 17-year-old girl, probably not going to happen all that much. But I will say this: I love the lyrics behind Zanny, because when I first saw that song, and full and fair disclosure, I own this vinyl.
Do you really?
Because I bought it for my daughter.
Okay.
Like Victoria, my 10-year-old, loves Billie Eilish, and so we were at Marv's in the East Village one day. And she was like, "Oh, Dad, you got to buy this for me." And I'm like, "Fuck, all right, whatever."
Sure.
And I never spent much time with it, but I wanted to get her a record because I like buying records for her. And so I bought her this record. And it wasn't until I was reading through the liner notes of Zanny, because when I first saw the title, I was like, "Oh, great! Like
she's
just
promoting drug
just
use.
What I fucking need, like somebody promoting the use of prescription drugs." And again, listen, I'm not against drugs. I'm absolutely against the fucking recreational use of prescription drugs, though, because half of the shit is just fucking trash. I mean, whatever.
Pretty solid rule to live by.
Yeah. And so I saw that song title and I'm like, oh, great. My daughter's listening to a song about how great fucking Xanax is to take. But then whenever you read it
and you listen,
it's fascinatingly anti-drug.
It's about her.
It's about her shitting on all of her friends that use Xanax,
and being at a party and her friends need it to have a good conversation and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was like, "Fuck off. I'll just take my can of Coke."
Yeah.
Like that's really what it was about.
So that's a good message.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so then it's like Billie Eilish instantly became a little bit more endearing to me at that point in time.
She certainly comes across more intelligent
So here's my beef on this whole album. Is Billie Eilish a singer?
Or like what? Like a rapper or something? Or a poet, like a slam poet almost?
Yeah.
Because I think she's a singer. I think she has a solid voice. I think that she just has a really unique style.
It's the whispering, though.
The whispering, but also the talking. She does a lot of talking.
A lot. Yeah.
It's almost borderline, somewhere between rapping and poetry.
Yeah, because
you could probably make the rap argument. I don't know that I'm going to make it, but
I don't know that I'm going to make it either. But half of it is like talking with vocal fry, which I'm lifting that from Heather Barkley, because that's what Heather Barkley was saying, right? Is that half the time she's doing this weird, just talking the lyrics with this crazy vocal fry. And
it's cool to me, though. It's a cool technique. I gotta say.
And sometimes it's not even her generating the vocal fry. It's Phineas putting an effect on her voice, particularly in Bad Guy. And I can't even do that, because it's an effect.
Well, because you need a fan. It's like when you're talking into a fan. Bad Guy.
Yes. I mean, I don't think that they were using a fan.
No, certainly not. It's like a tremolo is what it is, but it's like a really, really weird angular tremolo. And also I'm pretty sure that Phineas put some vocals onto this record.
He did.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember, I don't think I made notes on what tracks Phineas was on, but he absolutely did.
Bury a Friend definitely has a male voice. And so I'm guessing that's him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree with you. I love Strange Addiction, though.
Oh yeah, super good hook on that. My Strange Addiction.
Well, and there's that one part in the hook where, and this is gonna sound creepy because I feel like an old guy and like
you feel like a bad guy.
Yes, I definitely feel like a bad guy, but like there's a certain sultry sexiness to her voice when she sings the line, "Just add friction to my strange addiction," that is, it's hot.
Yeah.
It's super, super hot. I love it.
Well, she's 19 now, so you're good, dude.
Well,
Yeah.
no, not really. I have a 24, like I have an almost 25-year-old daughter.
I'm just kidding with
So
you.
yeah, no, that's not good. But
no, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, because I appreciate. Listen, we're getting ready to get next week. We're going to get Taylor Swift, and we're going to get a Taylor Swift album that has maybe one of the sexiest songs that I've ever heard in my life on it.
Which one?
Style.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I hate to say this, but Style is so boner inducing for me. I'm not even ashamed to admit that. Clearly, I just said it on the podcast. It's going to be recorded forever.
I'm trying to hear the melody to Style because I've taught that to a couple of students.
Have you really?
I really have. Yeah. Something about like something T-shirt or James Dean. Okay, yeah.
James Dean, good. Then the look in your eyes.
Yeah, okay, I know. Yep. Now there it is. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, Mike. You don't have
It's
to
hot.
feel bad about
It's
that
sexy.
at all. It's Taylor Swift. I think that you're fucking in the company of about 10 million other guys that would say the exact same thing. So.
Yeah, I know. Hands down, my favorite song on this entire album, and a song, one of the handful of songs that I put 5 stars next to. Do you want to guess?
Billie Eilish?
Yeah.
Put 5 stars.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Let me guess here. Don't tell me.
Go.
Is it I Love You?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's
dude, that song is it's the most remarkable. It's so remarkably beautiful.
It's a beautiful tune. Very, very good. It's like haunting, you know,
Yes.
from the start, that little acoustic guitar, like, dude, it's
and
dissonant.
his voice is on that track.
Definitely.
Phineas is on that track. And
I actually watched them. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, go.
Watched them doing just the other day an acoustic performance, and it was just those two, and they were singing it all together, and there was no production. It was literally just Phineas on acoustic guitar.
Yep.
And Billy, and they both had microphones, and it was almost even better than the studio version. You know,
I believe you. There's a part of me that I wondered if she wrote that song about her brother. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it's not like super romantic vocals or anything.
It's not. Yeah. Like, and if you listen to the words and if you listen to what she's saying, it could vary. Like, I very genuinely believe that she could have been writing that song about her brother.
Could be like a platonic love that she's speaking
but
of.
It's just, it's absolutely spectacular. I mean, unbelievably spectacular.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I totally get why you wrote that, which is why I guessed that one. So, but yeah, that's fantastic. That was the one with the flight attendant overdubs, right?
Yes.
There was like there was a time in it where it was like a flight attendant. Like,
oh yeah,
I can't remember what it was said, but
because like she's talking about being on a plane.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they put this whole fucking monologue that they clearly must have recorded on their iPhone or something like that when they were on a flight, because it was pitch perfect. And I even made a comment about that. Like, I love that dub in there.
Yeah.
Like, I love every part about it. And that
kind of adds to the vibe for sure.
It does.
Just a really beautiful chorus. It's an incredible song. You're not wrong at all. I'm right there with you. I gave it 3 stars, but you could convince me to go to 5. So
yeah. I mean, it stood out to me because it's so different than everything else. I mean, this album has a lot, and it's got a lot of stuff to love on it. But
on that song was where the breathy quality that she's like famous for came out the most to me, especially towards the end. Because a lot of critics, especially, talk about the breathiness of her voice, and I hear that talked about a lot, which it's usually talked about in a positive way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you gonna do with this? Because okay. So I asked you the question, but I'm gonna lead with this album is coming in at 397. It was released in 2019, which means that it's all of maybe a year and a half old. And I'm not going to be okay with an album that's so young in terms of when it was released versus when this album came out to be this high on the list. As much as I enjoy it, which I do, this album, it's a really good album.
I love it. I have it on digital, and
Yep.
I would buy vinyl.
I already got them both.
I just feel like this. So for Billie Eilish to release this album when she's 17 years old is fucking crazy. Okay, it really is. But that just makes me think, where's she gonna go from here? And like, I'm not against there eventually being a Billie Eilish record on this list, but yeah, this is too early to tell. I would say, and at this point in time, when this list was conceived, I wouldn't put it on there either. I feel like maybe 30 years from now, kind of like you said, if you were looking back, this might get put on the list. But right now, it's too early to tell. I think it's too early to judge its relationship against the other music.
Okay, so even if 30 years from now you put it on the list, my question to you would be, why are you putting this on the list? Are you putting it on this? Are you putting it on the list because the songs are really catchy? They're good songs. Are you putting this on the list because Billie Eilish has a completely remarkable voice like nobody else's?
I think the argument would just be the uniqueness of it. Like, because even though there is a lot that's in the same playing field out there, she obviously surged to the forefront of the entire, whatever the genre is, like,
what is the genre? What genre is this?
Electro pop, I guess.
Okay. I'll buy that.
Yeah.
But she's competing against who?
Lorde.
Pure heroin.
Mm-hmm.
Does pure heroin appear on this list?
I don't think so.
Fuck no. There's no fucking way.
Well, the other Lorde album that we did already.
Oh shit, that's right. Melodrama.
Yeah.
Melodrama was on this list, which fuck, I can't scroll up that high because fuck you, Rolling Stone.
That was
your
in
list extra blows when it comes to fucking trying to find shit easily on the internet.
It's poorly laid out.
That was like 460. 461.
Yeah, it was definitely bottom 50. Dude, I think you might be right about that.
I think
That's
it is.
insane that you just
I think it's like 460 or 460. Production manager Justin,
he has finally arrived.
fucking showed up late.
Finally.
Jesus, we had to drink all this Woodford by ourselves, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, seriously, dude.
For everybody that couldn't hear, he said, that's a bummer.
But yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, so Justin confirms 460.
460
was Lorde. So
this is better.
Do you want to know if there's anything else on the list
from Lorde?
Is there anything else on the list? Yeah.
Yeah, let's find that.
Yeah, we do want to know.
Yeah.
Okay, so Justin's going to look to see if there's anything else from Lorde on the list. I can't imagine that there
I don't
is,
think so.
quite frankly.
Although, I don't know, man, because we had this conversation back then. Like, still, even today, Lorde's biggest song, like, far and away, is Royals, right? Like, nothing even comes close.
Green Light does not even come close.
Not even remotely close. So
No.
if that album's on there, maybe that one is too,
Okay, here's my take with Billie Eilish. I'm okay with it being on the list, but it needs to be
Low.
much closer to Lorde,
And Harry
Melodrama,
Styles.
and Harry Styles.
I'm
And
even
I'm
okay, like, taking those albums off the list. Like, it just seems a little early. I feel like it's, I don't know, because then I'm like saying that, and then while I'm saying that, I'm thinking maybe I'm saying something stupid and it's not too early. But
I don't think that you can say that an album that's only been allowed to breathe for 18 months is in the top.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's kind of the art. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, the top 100 is the top, whatever, the top 20%. This is even greater than that.
Yeah.
And I just don't buy that. That's not to say that it couldn't wind up here. That's not to say that in 10, 15, 20 years from now, we look back and we say, yeah, this album does need to be at 397.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can make that judgment for an album that's only been out for a fucking year.
I don't think you can either.
That's crazy.
The reason is I'm going to go back to what I've said several times, which is that there's simply two reasons for an album to be on this list. Okay. Content or impact, and like, you can't really judge this album's impact at this point in time.
Thank you.
So then the argument
And
is
that's
just
my argument.
purely based on content, which it's hard to make that argument. I would say it's hard to make any. There's very few albums that you could just say, yeah, because this album is simply better than every other album. It belongs on here. You know, like most of them are on here for reasons related to impact or influence. You know what I mean?
Yep,
So-
absolutely. Okay, so Justin's confirmed. Pure Heroine does not appear on this list.
Not on there.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the only Lord album that we get is Melodrama, which you've already heard at 460. And, you know, listen, if you want to push Melodrama back, I'm okay with that. If you want to put Billie Eilish at 475 and Melodrama at 485 and Harry Styles at 491, I'm fine with that. But there's no way that you can give. I don't think in good conscience you can give an album this much credit when you have no clue how it's going to hold up historically.
Yeah, exactly.
Because in 10 years from now, we could look back and we could say, Billy, who? I don't think that's going to be the case.
Or what if she fucking releases 9 albums in the next 10 years, all of which are better than this?
Bangers.
You know, exactly.
Right? Bangers.
So,
yeah. No, I'm with you. But I did add it to digital.
Yeah, me too.
I already own the vinyl.
I would buy it.
And I've listened to the vinyl a couple of times, you know, just in the past week, like just listening to this because it is good.
I think she's great. And even like she's even released a couple at least one new tune.
Yeah.
Called,
I think 2 new singles.
the one that I'm thinking of is called Therefore I Am.
Yes.
You know that one?
Yep.
That's a badass tune too.
It's good.
Yeah.
Mad credit to Phineas though.
Big time.
Her
yeah.
brother's a fucking genius.
He actually releases music of his own.
I know. So have you listened to that Blood Harmony?
I've listened to some of it. And it
What'd
was
you
mainly
think?
because of I dig it. There's one track that I've taught to a student
Mhm.
that got me into it, and I really liked it a lot. And I'll tell you what it is, but just give me 1 second here.
I haven't listened to it yet, but I saw that he released it, and he released it in, I think technically that album was released in 2019, so the same year as When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go from Billy was released, but I haven't listened to Blood Harmony yet. I really want to though, because I do think that what he creates musically is really fucking compelling. Like I don't want to call him a genius necessarily, but I wouldn't feel bad saying that.
I think that he is someone that, you know, down the line we could consider him that.
Yeah.
But
Because I think we'll be talking about him, right?
Yeah.
For a long time.
I think that he's not done making music at all. I think he's just getting
No.
started.
Yeah.
The song that I know well is Partners in Crime. That's a beautiful song. It really is very good.
And that's from his album.
That's from Blood Harmony.
Blood Harmony.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And
I'm
that's
going to dig
actually
into
an
that.
EP. That's not even a full length. Did you know that?
You know what? Why don't you and Lee Stamper go fucking get into a tent and get cozy and talk about why EPs are not albums?
Doesn't sound so bad, Lee. Let me know if you're into it.
2-man tent, by the way. It's a 2-manner. Okay. Should we
I
move
got
on?
the tent. Yeah, let's move on. Okay, so
All right.
that's you, right? Yeah.
396, the last album for tonight. 1972 release from Todd Rundgren entitled Something Anything, a double album. Quote, I'm probably the whitest singer of the world, end quote. Todd Rundgren told Rolling Stone in 1972. I have no soul in the usual sense, but I can do this great feminine falsetto.
Hell yeah.
End quote. On this tour de force double album, Rundgren employs that falsetto on 2 great singles, I Saw the Light and Hello, It's Me. For the rest of the album, he demonstrates his complete command of the studio, playing almost all the instruments himself, experimenting with a kaleidoscope of rock genres, and even delivering a monologue on what poorly made records sound like. Dude,
So fun.
I gotta tell you, Todd Rundgren and I think could hang out and have a really fucking good time.
I agree. Yeah, I think that we should have him on the podcast.
We should have him on the podcast. Todd, if
you're
you hear
listening
this,
to this,
send us a message at anchor.fm/this sucks. Tell us that you're willing to come on, and we would fucking love to talk with you.
we'll consider it based on what you say. You know. Submit your application.
I totally adore this record.
Dude, I
This
love
double
every
record.
fucking minute of it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll tell you what, I grew up with my dad telling me Todd Rundgren's really good. You should check him out. Because I had a t-shirt that was like a hand-me-down. And I was like, what the fuck is this? It says Todd Rundgren. I don't know who this is. And he was like, Todd Rundgren is really amazing. You should check him out. And I was like, okay, I'll
Fuck
do that
you,
at some point for
Dad.
sure. But I never did. I really never did. I still have the shirt. It's actually in my closet. I'm gonna pull it out.
You feel like an
And,
asshole now, don't you?
Dude, this is ridiculous. This album is incredible.
Can I tell you another story?
Yeah.
So Heather was in my office the other day, and Heather goes, we were talking about Todd Rundgren, and she's like, man, that album's really good. At this point in time, like Heather's playing the Rex Todd game at this point. I'm pretty sure she's
right there
just
with Rex.
listening to
Yeah.
everything, as we go along. And she tells me, she's like, yeah, I listened to that record. It's really good. Like, and she even mentioned Intro, which is the track where Todd Rundgren is talking about how shitty music is made and everything.
The different record sounds.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is his.
This is popping.
This is the sound of bad editing.
Yeah. This is what it sounds like when your tape machine garbles your tape.
Yep.
But anyway, like we're recounting all this, and she's like, yeah, the other day, Ray and I were in Triple Z Records, and we saw this in Triple Z.
Didn't buy it.
No, because she had no
Oh
clue what the
my
fuck it
God.
was.
Jesus.
I feel like one of us needs to go down to Triple Z tomorrow because they could very well fucking
What if it's
have,
still there?
dude, it could be sitting down there for like pennies on the dollar.
We're gonna have a race to Triple Z.
I would, dude, I would scoop this thing up in a fucking heartbeat.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can look through my book here. Every song has some number of stars on it. Literally every single song, except for maybe Overture, just because it was kind of a silly little weird mashup.
That was wild.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
it did. I did not that I didn't appreciate it, but it was not really a song. It was like very early recordings of Todd playing with other bands. It wasn't even like Todd Rundgren singing, and they were covers, and so I didn't star that one. But that's the only one.
You know what I felt like though with Overture is I felt like that was a song where he was trying to take everything that he warned people about in Intro. And I felt like he was trying to mash that all up into one song.
Because it's definitely like poorly recorded.
Dude, it's shitty recording. Like there's tons of hum, there's tons of hiss. At one point in time in that song, you can literally hear the tape fucking get garbled into the song.
You think that's what it was? Like an little inside joke?
That's what I feel like.
Well, I feel dumb for not picking up.
I mean, literally, that's what I feel like. If you go back and listen to Intro and then listen to Overture, I'm pretty sure you can get almost every single shitty recording thing inside of Overture that he talks about in Intro.
Probably, yeah. Dude, like you're gonna ask me like what songs stuck out, and like I literally put like 3 or 4 stars on. Probably, I mean, there's 25 tracks on this record.
I know.
I'd probably put 4 stars on 15. To tell you the truth.
So I didn't get that effusive with it because I do try and I try and limit, especially like anything more than 3 stars. I try to be really, really.
I try to too, and there were several of these where I put like I put 2 stars, or I even put 3, and then by the time the song finished, I was like, I gotta fucking put another star. Because like it just like solidified its position.
What was your absolute favorite? What was your top?
So I was thinking about that.
I'll tell you mine. Can I lead with mine?
Yeah.
I think my absolute favorite was Black Mariah. Or it looks like Black Maria.
So that was one of my 5 stars.
Yeah.
That's the one with the guitar stops. It's like down, 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 down. Yeah. And that one, like his voice almost reminded me of Jimi Hendrix on that one. The way he was singing. Super soulful, great guitar. It was like a bluesy hard rock kind of song.
Yeah, and that's what I was just gonna say, is like that's the notes that I made. It's super fucking bluesy. It's like a combination of heavy blues rock mixed with heavy arena rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because this was like when arena rock was really coming into its own, probably on the early side of like big time arena rock.
Probably.
But that's what this spoke to me of. And to me, like that's where he's at his best. That, and then like the big ones, you know what I mean? Like the big hits of I Saw the Lights, fantastic. Hello, It's Me, absolutely fantastic. But to me, Black Mariah was That's a banger.
dude. And
Fucking huge banger.
even like there were those big ones, but honestly, I felt like the record got better the further I listened. Like everything, like the deep cuts were really, really great. And I'm just like you. Usually, I'm pretty judicious with my doling out of the stars,
But you got
but I was not
you
on
just
this
went
one
off
at
the
all.
fucking
Dude, I
deep
just
end
was
with
like,
this one.
my wrist was tired. Like, I told you that I very rarely do 5 stars. The last time I gave anything with 5 stars was on a snub album, and it was Pink Floyd's Animals.
Yeah.
And I gave fuck.
Dogs.
I gave Dogs 5 stars, I think.
Had
But
dogs.
there were 4 songs I gave 5 stars on this record.
Tell me.
So there was Black Maria was one of them.
Yep.
Cold Morning Light.
That's fucking song.
It was like
is
soul
great,
rock.
dude.
The chorus on that is just outright incredible.
How about
one
the
of the best
flute?
choruses? Yeah,
The fucking flute on that song is spectacular.
and it's a timing change. It's like a 4/4 groove on the verse, and then
Yes.
when it goes to the chorus, it goes to a waltz.
And
you
he
know?
does that a lot,
Yeah,
right?
he's just
Like
reminds me of Laura Nyro a little bit.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
And
kind of want to
before
go
I
back
said
and
that
listen to
Laura
that now.
Nyro was like a female version of Warren Zevon.
Yes.
Maybe she's the female version of Todd Rundgren.
Of Todd Rundgren.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, anyways, Cold Morning Light got the 5 stars for me. Black Maria got 5 stars. I think my very favorite song was "Couldn't I Just Tell Ya."
The fuck is that?
That was number 16. It was just like a straight up 70s rock tune, but just really, really great writing. There was a dual harmony guitar solo on it.
Yep.
I wrote my favorite one. I wrote, "This is my fave" for sure.
I loved the
Um,
bridge on that song and the vocal layers. Like, and that's something that is just, it's prolific throughout this entire album. Is just, fuck, dude. I don't even want to think about how many tracks Todd Rundgren recorded of his own fucking voice.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's just
it's all
thick.
him. Yeah. Just to be clear.
Yeah. And actually, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
75% of this album, every single fucking thing that you hear,
Literally every instrument.
every instrument, drums,
And every vocal
bass,
track.
guitar, every vocal track, every keyboard track, every fucking organ, it's Todd Rundgren.
Yeah.
And if you read into this album, basically, he was recording this in LA. He got so pissed off and fed up with dealing with studio musicians that he said, you know what? Fuck off. All of you, get the fuck out. I'm going to do it myself.
And it sounds like he like learned a couple instruments in order to do that, because it was like at this point he had, became proficient enough on these instruments that he felt comfortable doing this. Like, I think that he learned, he was like, I'm going to have to fucking learn how to play the drums because of you assholes and stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly. And he does it.
It's
He
incredibly
fucking pulls it
impressive,
off.
dude. Like, he's a fucking genius. No doubt about it. Like, we talk about geniuses. He is one.
Well, Trent Reznor has come up.
In
Hate
comparison
Machine.
to him, or in comparison to as being a genius?
Trent Reznor has come up because when he recorded Pretty Hate Machine, he recorded everything. He was the only person, right? Every single track on Pretty Hate Machine was played by Trent Reznor. Every one of them, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not until he goes on the road that Trent brings in other musicians so that way he can actually play a live show. Fucking Todd Rundgren is the OG of OGs of OGs when it comes to saying, fuck all of you. I'm just going to do it all myself. And God damn it if it's not impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So that one, and then there was one other track that I gave 5 stars to, which was Little Red Lights.
Man, I love Little Red Light. A huge Sabbath.
It was almost
feel.
doomy metal.
Yep, all the same. All the same. What
And
do you think
then-
about Piss Aaron?
Super fun.
I fucking love that song.
Dude, you know who it reminded me of? Randy Newman.
Oh, dude, I didn't even think about Randy Newman within the context of that song, but fucking A if it wasn't genius. Super sorry, YouTube.
You
Bo
could
is
see
saying
Mr.
hi.
Bo. Yeah. Let me get him off the
Come on,
table.
Jay.
Sorry, YouTube. He's not gonna move. We're gonna have to physically remove him.
I know. We're literally having to remove JB's cat from the table for all of our YouTube viewers who were just looking at Mr. Bo's ass.
Yep.
There for a little bit.
It's
But-
a nice ass, but it gets old, I'm sure.
Hi, Bobby. Okay.
And then the latter half, or the latter quarter, I should say, of this album because the first half was all Todd, and then the last bit is live studio recordings with the band, like all just recorded in one take.
Yep. And you can tell it too, because half of them contain like the outtakes at the beginning.
The false starts. There's one that like 4 false starts on it. It's
at least.
You Left Me Sore.
Yeah. And there are at least 4 false starts there, right?
Yeah.
But I loved it.
Dude, it's super endearing. You like you get a glimpse into the studio experience and what it was like, and you hear some of their conversations with each other, and you just like, I was just thinking, man, this would be so much fun. Like, I wish I was in Todd Rundgren's band. I could hang out with these guys.
I'm there.
What did you think of the last track?
Slut? I thought it was fucking hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
It was absolutely hilarious.
It's a little risque, but I almost like, man, I want to fucking play this with one of my bands. SLUT. I know she's a slut, but she looks good to me. That's awesome, dude.
I will say this. I was kind of I was a little bit surprised that he put that at the end of this disc.
It's a fun closer, but yeah, I get it.
Dude, listen, adored it. Just absolutely adored it. It's long, you know. I mean, it's an hour and a half.
It's a double album.
Yeah, because he literally, by the time that he got done, he had 2 albums worth of material, but he said, fuck it, right? Like, that's what he had, so that's what he put out. I'm so glad that I discovered this. Todd Rundgren, if you dig down that rabbit hole, he's a really fascinating character. He started, he was really at the leading edge of using digital equipment in digital recording. He was doing digital audio tapes before anybody else was.
Leading edge of releasing music on the internet too.
That's what I was just going to say, right? Yeah. Because like he had his hand a little bit in Napster, you know, and just the digital proliferation of music. So this guy is incredibly influential just from an industry standpoint. It's kind of amazing and influential what he did. But this album is absolutely spectacular. If you say to me, yeah, but Mike, I really fucking hate music from the 70s, I'm going to tell you, don't listen to this. Because this is clearly, it all has kind of that feel of
it
70s
has the 70s
music.
But at the same time, it's super eclectic genre-wise. Like, it's rock, it's heavy metal, it's soul, it's R&B.
Without a doubt.
I'm going to tell you, you know what? Even if you hate it, listen to it anyways, because you're going to find at least 5 or 6 songs that you love.
And granted, there's 25.
Yeah.
But you hit the nail on the head right there. Even if you say, I fucking hate music from blah, fill in the blank, listen to it anyway.
Yeah.
Because you're going to pick up tracks that you didn't even think that you would love, and you're going to fucking love them.
I actually sent this album to Justin earlier. Justin Handel that comes on to our podcast quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, listen to this right now, like as soon as possible. And he was like, well, which song? I was like, the entire thing.
The whole thing. Just do it. Just do it. I'm definitely keeping it on the list. I might even move it up. It's tough to say right now. I could see this album creeping closer to 340 or 350 for me.
Absolutely. I could too. And I think that this is probably the only Todd Rundgren album. I don't know that for sure, but just based on
either.
Based on how highly rated it was in his catalog.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree with that. I added it to digital, and I hope that I beat you to Triple Z and that they haven't sold it out of the used vinyl.
I hope they have 2 copies.
I do too, because I'm going to pick it up. Rex Todd. So
absolutely.
Rex Todd says of the Todd Rundgren album, this is the guy that sings that song.
He's totally right. Yeah.
This is the most common phrase that ran through my head while listening to this album. I like how the intro is literally in the middle of the album. That's badass. It's a decent album, though. This album has bad love montage and a sappy 70s movie written all over it. He's not wrong.
I know that it'd be a perfect fit for that.
It would. He's not wrong. But clearly he enjoyed it. And
Rex says that kind of shit all the time. He says something, and I'm like, I couldn't have put that any better. I know.
And that's the beauty of Rex. So Rex keeps sending it to us. I do want to circle back to Billie Eilish though. Because he doesn't know how he feels about this one. He says it has some good production work. I want to hate this one. I do. It's pretty fucking good. And now I hate myself for typing that. Apparently I'm a 13-year-old girl.
You're not alone there.
The voice of a new generation. It's too early in her career for that line. I'm going to eat my shame away now.
Well, see, he kind of had the similar thoughts to what we've been saying, though.
Absolutely.
You know?
Like, absolutely. I think that what he's voicing there is exactly what we were saying. And of course, yeah, love Todd Rundgren.
So good. Yeah.
All that being said, should we preview what we got coming up next week with Heather Barkley?
With Heather coming in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So coming in at 395 is D'Angelo and the Vanguard. The first of a couple.
Hopefully.
Sure. Black Messiah.
At least out of two.
Yeah.
394, we're going to be talking about the 1980 release from Diana Ross. Diana.
393, we have Taylor Swift's 1989.
T-Swizzle.
Yeah.
392, we're going to be talking about Proud Mary, the best of Ike and Tina Turner from Ike and Tina Turner.
And 391 is Kellis Kaleidoscope. Is it Kellis? Is that what it is?
Let's go with Kellis. Are you familiar at all?
No idea.
Neither. Yeah, neither have I.
Cool.
And Heather has shared with me that she has no experience with any of these albums with the lone exception of 1989.
I was going to say T Swift. Yeah.
Yeah. T-Swizzle she's familiar with, but everything else.
I think she'll recognize a lot from Diana Ross.
Yeah. And Ike and Tina, right? Because it's a best of album.
Does that, it's best of?
Yep.
So it's going to have,
Proud Mary.
Yeah. That's what I was looking for. Yeah.
That's in the title.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah. Proud Mary. That's the Ike and Tina Turner, which does not have Proud Mary on it.
No, for some reason. They've woefully left that
strange
song
decision. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So next week, we'll be back at the regularly scheduled time. We'll be back on Friday next week. So be sure to tune in.
Yep.
Thanks
We'll
for
have a guest.
listening to us this week. Yeah, Heather Barkley will be joining us next week.
We're excited.
And next week, we're also going to be doing the bonus episode.
Yep. We're back to bonus next week.
Bonus next
BTB.
week. And wow. Yeah. So next week, the bonus episode is going to be with Dreamboat Annie by the band Heart. And we'll see what we can do with that because maybe we'll get April Leonard and Heather Barkley in for that bonus show.
Yeah. Maybe we can even convince April to come hang out in person and just join for the bonus.
And just join for the bonus.
Yeah.
That's what we would really, really like to do.
I think we have a solid chance.
We'll have to be cajoling.
Yeah.
We're incredibly persuasive people though.
Super charismatic. Yeah.
Unbelievably so.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, thanks everybody.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
See you next week.
This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Goodbye.
I gotta go pee again.
Again, Mike?
Again. Bye-bye.
I wanted to listen with you guys. I thought I would open it with you.